everybody. Welcome to our state officers workshop. We appreciate you all being here. I wanted to go ahead and let you know that our goal in life is to get you out of here in 60 minutes or less. So today, the purpose of this workshop is to provide practical leadership guidance, resources, and best practices for state officers while encouraging engagement at the state, regional, and national levels.
You're going to advance it from the bottom.
I want to introduce our.
Bottom of the script, the slide.
I'm trying.
Just keep talking.
I want to introduce our team that's on here. As soon as I figure out how to advance this, I'm getting some help here, and I still.
Yeah, no. What is you're not showing? You got to go.
We tested it.
Oh.
Spacebar won't do it?
No, because it's you're seeing the Zoom screen, not to advance. You got to get. Let's do it this way. Now.
Okay.
Now
there we go.
There you
Got it. Okay. Sorry about that. Hopefully y'all can see this. Today's presenters will be J.J. Jones, Scott Jensen, Andy Ness, Jennifer Pelham, myself. Our chat moderator is Jennifer Bentley, and then our host and technical support executive director is Scott Hallbaker. So wanted to go ahead and do that. A little bit of housekeeping. Please keep your microphone muted. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. Jennifer will monitor those throughout today's session. And then we've got a discussion period at the end that will try to address those questions. All right, with no further ado, we're going to start with our very first speaker. This is Scott Jensen. He is our NACAA past president from Idaho, and he's going to talk about lessons learned from a past president.
All right, so welcome everybody. I'm thankful that Sherry asked me to share a few thoughts, and I'm actually had to drop off the mountain. I'm in central Idaho on a research project, and so I left my team up there, and so I apologize, but after I share my thoughts, I got to scoot back up there. So. But it's a beautiful day in central Idaho. I just wanted to, as Sherry asked me about this, I wanted to share just a few thoughts that came to my mind as that I hope will be helpful as you serve as a state officer and perhaps beyond that. But I have this poster, picture, whatever, hanging on my wall, and it's one that I think really applies to extension, and perhaps a lot of you can also relate to that. But if you can't read the small writing at the bottom of it, it said, "There were a hell of a lot of things they didn't tell me when I hired on with this outfit." And I think that definitely applies to extension, and then especially serving as a national officer, I have found that there's a lot of stuff they don't tell you. Perhaps nobody would ever run for office if they told you some of the things, added responsibilities and other things. But I laugh at that, but at the same time, I think it has a lot of application, and there's a lot of truth to it. So if you would, Sherry, advance to the next slide. As I thought about it, the number one thing I think when it comes to serving in almost any capacity, and maybe just life in general, but I think it really applies to service as an officer. People may hear your words, but they feel your attitude. Sometimes we get asked to do something. Perhaps you were coerced by some colleagues to run for office, or maybe you're in a state like Idaho where we don't have a big association. And so it's not necessarily encouragement. It's like, it's your turn. You've got to do it. And so but whatever the attitude is that we take on that responsibility with, people, they might hear what we say, but they're going to feel, what we really think about whatever that happens to be. The other quote there by Lou Holtz, ability is what you're capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do. Your attitude determines how well you do it. And so I would just encourage you as you serve to really consider your attitude about that opportunity and to really go after it and how well you do, what difference you make within your state association or beyond, really is going to be determined by your attitude. So go ahead, Sherry. Next slide, please. So one of the first things as I thought about it, you get elected, appointed, whatever, to an office. How do you figure out what in the heck you're supposed to do? I know a lot of times, and this happens within, I'll throw Idaho under the bus. This happens a lot in Idaho because we are kind of few in number association wise when it comes to the various committees at the state level. We have a lot of folks that just say, every time it's time for a report, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing. And so it's important to figure that out. What in the heck are you supposed to do? Next slide, Sherry. So there are some good places, some great resources to be able to learn exactly what your responsibilities are. And I put on there the question of where can you find that stuff out? Number one resource, I think, if you'd advance one click, is on the national website. The NACAA website has got some great resources, and there's this interesting hidden little handbook called the State Officer's Handbook. So if you jump on that, you'll be amazed at the amount of information you can find about your specific office. One more click, please, Sherry. And so it does, if I could show that entire page, it says down there towards the bottom, all state presidents, secretaries, national officers, directors, and the NACAA association policy committee are encouraged to review this document posted on the website. Just a tremendous resource. And I'll tell you, it's one that I have used quite a bit. That committee handbook, the NACA policy handbook, which has all of the national officer responsibilities for each office. Those are invaluable resources. And so one more click, Sherry. That just shows you can get on there and towards the bottom of the page, you can download a PDF, you can download a Word document. We really try, the board tries to keep that up to date. And so great resource, and I would just encourage you to be sure and utilize that resource. Beyond that, I started to think about, what sort of advice would I give to somebody as they serve in an office? And so I came up with this thought, and if you'd advance, Sherry, I came up with the thought of the bees. And these aren't the insect kind of bees, but these are things that are helpful, useful. And so I want to take just a minute or two on each one of those and talk about them. So the first one, be committed. When you take on a responsibility such as serving as an officer, it's really important you be committed to that. Spend whatever time is necessary to fulfill your responsibilities as a leader. And I'll tell you, maybe it does require, responding to some emails or text messages after hours or on a weekend. Or for those of you that might know Keith Michler, When he's on the East Coast and I'm in Mountain Time, I guarantee you I've had plenty of text messages at 6 a.m. or earlier, my time. And so it just is a matter of being committed enough to spend the time and respond to those types of things when they come through. The second one is be thoughtful. And the thought that comes to mind about being thoughtful related to serving as an officer is that you really ought to consider spending, and not consider, spend some dang time outside of the meeting. If we only think about some of the related things right during the meeting, that's not the time. At least I'll tell you, for me, it's not the time where I get my best sort of critical thinking done. It's some of the quiet times. Maybe it's while I'm driving. Sometimes I step out of the shower and it's like, oh, the light bulb goes off on whatever it was that I was pondering and thinking about. But those kind of things don't happen if you're not spending some time outside of the meeting thinking about it. And so, spend some time, ponder the direction of your organization, potential improvements that can be made, and that kind of thing. And I think that's really important. And I would, since I'll pick on Sherry since she's hosting the the workshop. Sherry is one that spends considerable time thinking. I've had several conversations with Sherry over the last couple of years that were outside of you know, way outside of the board meeting time. She'd been pondering an idea, wanted to run it past me, see what I thought, and that's the kind of thing that really helps us, move, whether it's your state association or other things you're involved in, helps it move forward. Then be active. And I would just say, whatever your association's doing, get involved in it, fully involved, and participate in all the activities. That's the best way that you can really help your association and lead out. Then be involved, be part of the discussion and the decisions. Not everybody that sits in a board meeting is totally engaged in what's going on in the room. And it's important that you're focused and you just that you're involved. And I made a note for myself: don't just be a bystander scrolling through your emails or social media feed. Really actively participate in the meeting. That's where you can help move things forward. Be kind. Treat others with kindness, even when we disagree. There's way too much of the other side of things going on in this world today, and I think if the more we can treat others with kindness, and it's okay to agree to disagree on things, but let's treat others well. Be inclusive, and I think that it's important to really seek input from everybody, all the officers, all of the members, and everybody ought to feel welcome to participate in the discussions and activities. And sometimes as a leader, you might need to, I don't know what, this sounds sort of bad, but I say call someone out. And what I mean is, if you notice somebody who's sitting there quietly and really hasn't spoken up, they might have some good thoughts going on in their mind, and don't be afraid to ask, what do you think about this? Or do you have any thoughts on this? And sometimes you'll get some great input just by reaching out and trying to include some of the other folks there. Be considerate. Seek to meet the needs of all of the members in your association. I work with some of you know him. I saw Colts on here, but Sergio Rispe is an extension agent in Southeast Oregon, and I work with Sergio on a few projects. he, in my opinion, is one of the most considerate people that I know. He's thinking about the needs of others. And one sort of funny example, but we spent last week 3 days out on a range project, and it's pretty remote. Sergio always takes a pop-up potty. We have it doesn't matter if we did have a few females on the crew, but it doesn't matter, females or if it's total male crew, whatever. First thing when we pull into a site, Sergio sets that thing up. 99% of the time, nobody uses it, but he wants people to feel comfortable if there's a need. And even this time around, every time we left town, we stopped at a gas station before we headed up the hill, just so that, somebody, just to make them feel comfortable. If they felt better to go in there and use the restroom than in his pop-up potty, but that's the kind of thing I've noticed about him. He is very, very considerate in thinking about the needs of others. So be considerate. And then the last one I have on there is be dependable. Whatever assignments that you get, whatever your responsibilities are in your office, if you make a commitment, follow through on it, really get her done. And and that's one of the things I've had a lot of fun with Sherry, and I'll tell you, Sherry's one of those people that if she has an assignment, you can take it to the bank. It's gonna get done and done well. And I could say that about a lot of the board members. It really has been a privilege to serve on the national board and work with so many very quality individuals. So last slide. I just want to say, my closing thoughts. I've got 26 years now, or I have to stop and think, 26 years ago when I started with Extension, I would have never, ever imagined serving as national president. I didn't cross my mind, even the first quite a few national meetings I went to. I just thought that's a different class of people. And we're all regular folks. And so it's been great. But it all started for me. I served as a state officer, started as a director or a vice director in one of our extension districts, and then eventually state president, and I got talked into serving or applying to serve on a committee. And so it's always, that's where it all started. And I would say it really has been a great ride. I have absolutely zero regrets. I've thought about that a little bit. It'll be different not having a monthly board meeting and other stuff to go to, but I'm actually going to miss that. I'm going to miss the association with so many good people. But anyway, just to finish it off, I just would encourage you as you serve in whatever office that you are in and future offices that you might serve in, to remember those. I don't remember how many there were, 8 or 9 B's, and really give it your all and make a difference. And with that, thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I know you've got to get back on the mountain, so I appreciate you coming. We hopefully, if they've got questions, Scott, maybe we can entertain those on your behalf at the end of this. So we are going to move straight to Jennifer Pelham. Jennifer is a Southern Region Director from Florida, and she's going to be talking about strengthening the association membership through connection and purpose.
Thanks, Sherry. Good afternoon, everyone. So we need to understand, talking about membership and retention, understand how do we gain members. So, new agents may not join because they don't understand the value of our association yet. Also, mid-career agents, they may drift away because they feel disconnected from the association. Maybe it's because of workload, maybe burnout, maybe it's just the lack of perceived value. We may also miss out on potential other members, like agents from our 1890 universities or other disciplines like 4-H agents or natural resource agents. Maybe we're missing out on our specialists, inviting them to join our memberships. But your job as state leaders are to close these gaps. So more likely than not, when you joined your association, you probably joined because somebody told you about the association. Somebody invited you to join, and that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that we're inviting people to join our association. Just looking at the membership numbers from across the states this past year, I've noticed some states, they lost a significant number of members. I've seen other states gain significant number of members this year. So take a look at your numbers and look at those numbers year after year and see where you may have some fluctuation and ask yourself, what happened that year? Why did we lose 20 members this year? Or why did we gain 20 members this year? What do we do differently in the association that we're losing or attracting the members? And that's something to really focus on, because when that happens, you want to tune in to see the reason why. And then if you're gaining members, continue that. But if you're losing members, how can you change that to either bring those members back, or how can you change that to get some new members involved in the association? Next slide, please. So some of the strategies that work, of course, peer-to-peer outreach. You want to talk to those peers. Why aren't some of these agents in the association? Maybe have that conversation with them. Tell them about the benefits of the association. What do you get out of the association? Have a new membership committee that reaches out to these new agents. When it should be part of the onboarding process when somebody starts an extension is that they learn about the association and they become a member and asked to join the association within those first few months of being an agent. And use success stories. Like I said, what did you get out of our association? Have you won awards? Have you created new programs from what you've learned attending the AMPICs or attending your state association meetings? Have you met great agents in other states that you were able to network with and learn from? So give those examples to these new members or to new agents or even agents who have left the association and try to get them back and involved. And we want to create a culture where membership is the norm and not the exception. So change slide, please. So I was thinking outside of the box of some of these, who are some people that we can invite to be members of our association that typically aren't members. And the first thing that came to mind is to recruit extension agents from our 1890 land grant schools. If we want our association to reflect the full strength of our national extension system, we must be intentional in inviting and including our 1890 colleagues. So if you have an 1890 school in your state, reach out to those extension administrators and extension agents in those universities. Invite them to join the association. Invite them to attend the state meetings, to join committees, invite them to your professional development. Also consider sponsoring them for their first year of membership. Sometimes just inviting them is the first barrier to having the people involved in the association. In Florida, we did this with our 1890 school with FAMU. We invited the extension agents in FAMU to join NACAA. We had a whole campaign. We even offered them to sponsor their membership fee for the first year, no matter how long they've been in extension. Even if they've been in extension for 10 years, we were sponsoring the first year to be a member. And we were able to recruit some new members to FACAA from FAMU. Think about your specialists. Specialists are important to extension. They bring depth to our programs. They can also help with statewide leadership and mentoring. But many specialists, they don't join our associations because they think it's only for county agents. So we need to stress to them that they can join our state associations and NACAA. And sometimes it just takes an invitation from an agent. The association can help our specialists gain national visibility for their research programs and their extension outreach programs. Our association connect our researchers, our specialists with agents from across this country to help them with their work. The association can even give our specialists some leadership opportunities and scholarships, and also recognition for their hard work. And finally, I know a lot of associations don't allow administrators to join their association, but some states do. And for those who don't, I ask why not? Because I think having administrators join your association is really important. Not only um, will they get to know you better, know your members better, but they get to know the association, and you can gain more support from having those administrators part of your association. And I forgot to add this to the slide, but also think about some of those non-traditional ag agents or agents in other disciplines that could benefit from the Ag Association, like our 4-H agents, natural resources agents. We have opportunities for these agents in these disciplines to also be members and present at our association meetings, present nationally, win awards, showcase their programs, etc. Let's see. Next slide, please. So not only do we want to bring in new members, we need to make sure that we have retention strategies that keep our current members engaged. We want
Mhm.
people to feel like they belong. So just continue the communication of the value of the association throughout the year, throughout the years, and also create small rules to keep everyone involved. So encourage people to join those committees and not just have their name listed as a committee member. Make sure that they're actively working in that committee. Maybe it's something just small that they're um, in the monitoring the chat, or maybe it's something that in a professional development, or maybe they're handing out papers, but just keeping them involved in the association, even in small roles, matters. Also, help members see themselves in leadership roles. Like Scott said, he never saw himself as the president of NACAA, but help people see those roles. So maybe they don't see themselves as the president of your state association, but as maybe they're become a chair or co-chair of a committee, and as they work up those roles, maybe one day they will be that state president. And then finally, just recognition and visibility. Make sure you celebrate everybody's contributions. The past few months, I've been to 5 or 6 state meetings, and one of the best parts of those meetings is celebrating those who receive their AA, their DSA, communication awards, etc. So make sure you continue celebrating those within your association. I have a few minutes left, but I was just wondering if anybody has have anything that you would like to say or share about how you may retain or recruit members in your association. You can put that in the chat to share. If not, well, I guess we can move on.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our next speaker is Andy Ness. He's the Northeast Region Director, and he's going to be talking about getting members involved beyond the state level.
Okay, thank you very much, Sherry. It's great to be online with everybody today. So good afternoon or good morning, wherever you may be, your region of the United States. Sherry asked me to talk a little bit about how we can get our members involved beyond our state level. And for me, I really think that, having your members as state members is step one, and getting them more involved nationally is sort of like this is step two. And we can really start to see a lot of benefits from having more involvement at beyond just the state level. So as I thought about this, the first thing that it's probably the easiest to get members involved with would be applying for awards and recognition. You guys have members in your state associations that are all doing very good work. So just take the extra few minutes to encourage them to apply for an award. There's several different awards available at the national level that you can enter. I listed some of them here. So we have the Program Recognition Council, and these are our Search for Excellence Awards. They're broken down into 9 different categories. So these are for extension programs. I mean, I can't think of any program that wouldn't fit into one of these categories. So if you have members that are doing some sort of outstanding program, I encourage them to look at Search for Excellence and find where it would fit and submit their application. And one other really great thing about the NACA website is that you can go back in and look at previous year's winners. So before those members submit their applications, it's great for them to go in there, look at the previous year's winners, see what they had included in their application that got them across the finish line. And of course, there's rubrics as well for scoring and whatnot. The second category that I've listed there is communications awards. These communication awards are sort of the content that we're putting into extension programs. There's 13 different categories. I'm not going to read them all to you, but those are the classic extension outputs, newsletters and fact sheets and columns and all kinds of stuff like that. Again, these are all things that our members are already doing. So just encourage them to take that extra step to actually submit that award. And then finally, I have our Achievement Award and DSA, Distinguished Service Award, listed there as well. Regardless of how your state chooses your winner, just encourage your members to apply. AA is for members less than 10 years of service in extension, and then DSA is for those members over 10 years. So that would be step 1, is to apply for awards and recognition. Next slide, Jerry. Okay, so the second level of involvement that I think is we can do fairly easily would be submit presentations or posters. These can all be submitted through the NACA website. You can submit your posters for judging, and if you do, you could have you could be a state, a regional, and or national winner. Our poster presentations are divided into extension education or research posters. So there's 2 different categories. This can be excellent recognition. It's excellent scholarship. So obviously for folks that have to show scholarship for promotion and whatnot at your institution, this obviously is a great opportunity for that. But also a great networking opportunity to meet folks and get ideas for further extension programs or research projects. And then consider also applying for oral presentations. So there's 10 different categories at our national meeting that you can submit oral presentations. And then roughly there's about a dozen or so slots in each one of those categories. So plenty of opportunity to submit a talk. Next slide, please.
Oops. Hang on. I'll work this out in a second.
Oh, it's JJ. See,
Yes, me.
Gary would have got this.
I know. I was trying to play around here and make things work. So,
I'm kidding. No, so let's see.
Here we go.
Yeah, so
There we
this
go.
slide here we have I wanted to point out serving on committees and councils. So NACA really does rely on membership involvement, and we're driven by committees and councils to do the work of our association. And we basically can't function without them. So we really need our folks to step up into these leadership roles. I just took a snapshot off of the NACA website that shows the different committees, and you can click into those if you were on the website and learn more about them. But each one of these councils and committees, they typically have a chair and then vice chairs, and the vice chairs by different region. So when these committees and councils come open, please encourage your membership to apply. Some folks might think that this is a job for somebody else, but it's not. Anybody can really be involved and serve on these committees and councils, and it just takes You just have to take the plunge and do it. The first committee that I served in was agronomy and pest management for the Northeast region, and I found it to be a very rewarding committee to be on. I learned a lot, and more importantly, I learned a lot more about how our association functions. It really did help my understanding of what NACA does and how we organize our meetings and whatnot. So great opportunity. If you guys are ever curious about what committees are open and need to be filled, that information is going to be found in our county agent magazine. So be sure to draw your members' attention to those opportunities when they become open and encourage them to apply. Next slide. So as far as application, I just wanted to point this out because I do get this question when I do state visits sometimes is how do we apply? So if you log into your NACAA account, there's going to be a tab for leadership application. If you click on that, you can see your previous leadership roles and then starting new applications for whatever year it may be. It's quick and easy to do that. Just make sure you complete your application and make it complete and submit it. Next slide. I think this is my last slide. So a couple of things that I wanted to point out based on my experience over the years and in my home association here in Maryland. I think it really helps to identify emerging leaders within your association, your state association. One thing that I think is really important is people rarely respond to just generic blanket blast emails. So this kind of goes back to what Scott Jensen was saying about being intentional and reaching out to people. And I think that makes all the difference, rather than just sending out, a blast email, maybe approaching folks in a follow-up email or one-on-one and saying, hey, here's an opportunity that I think you would really excel in and I think you would really benefit from and I think you would do a great job at. So encouraging folks to apply that way. And I think, at least in Maryland, we've gotten a lot of traction by doing stuff like that. Secondly, I think it's important to have maybe more senior members mentor or share their experiences about NACA, whether they were, a council chair or served on committees or whatnot. Have them talk about their experience. Maybe at your state association meeting, they can report back as to what they did in that in their role and what they learned. Maybe there was some exciting opportunities that they got to participate in. So I think that's really helpful as well. And then the final point there is, be sure to refer to that county agent magazine for those openings. That's a really good spot to see all the opportunities. And then in there, it's going to be more information about how you can apply for those roles as well. So when those opportunities become available, please highlight them to your association, point them out to your membership, and encourage folks to apply. And I think with that, I'm finished, and I look forward to seeing folks in Denver.
Okay, all right. We're going to see if I can sing it up here a little bit so I can see both screens here. I hope everybody's having a good day today. And like I said, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Just in case you don't realize who I am, my name is J.J. Jones. I am the national president. I also have the privilege and the honor of working in Arkansas with Sherry. Everybody's already talked about Sherry, so there's no need to brag on her very much. It's even funnier because I'm technically her boss, so I get to. So yeah, if y'all want to talk bad about her, that's okay. I'll listen to that as well. But no, I'm here to talk a little bit about, why should you encourage your members to attend the national meeting? And I understand, and I mean, I know I've been working extension 32 years, and I can still remember when I first got started in extension, and they started talking to me about going to Casper, Wyoming, and actually Little Rock, Arkansas, was one of the first meetings that I could have gone to. And I remember thinking there is just no way. First of all, you go to them and say, "Yeah, we want you to go to this meeting. It'll cost you nowadays up the neighborhood of $2,500." And whether your state helps with that or not, I know that's a hard sell to a young individual who is probably, just now getting out of college and probably don't have two dimes to rub together. make anything happen. So you've got to find a way to sell this to these folks. And I wish I could tell you what it is that hooked me when I first went and my first meeting 30 years ago this year, 1996 when I went to that first meeting. And I can't put my finger on it. I can't really exactly tell you what it is, but I'm just telling you, if you can get your young new agents here and get them, to kind of actively, take part, they'll themselves they'll convince them the reason why they need to come back. But how get to sell it nowadays, and I'm kind of lucky because now in my role in Arkansas, I have a little bit of leverage over my agents, and so I kind of tell them that there's no choice, that they must be members, and then once they're members, then I can talk to them about attending the meeting. But the big thing is professional development. This meeting that we do every year, I have yet to go to any type of meeting, and I've been to all kinds of different types of meetings. But this meeting allows so many different opportunities for professional development, and we're talking not just the presentations, not just the super seminars, not just the posters, uh, but the opportunity for you to network with fellow extension agents from across the nation. And I always tell this story, there's I don't feel like there's a state in the United States that has an extension service that I can't, I feel comfortable that I can call anybody in one of those states to answer any type of question, whether it be extension related, which is 90% of the time, or even when I had my son moving to a different state, I called the extension agent in that county and said, "Hey, where does he want to live? Where does he not want to live?" And I wouldn't have that opportunity without being involved in this association. And you get to know, not only you get to know these folks, not only by attending the presentation, but the hallway, I call them the hallway conversations that you get to have. And so you get to meet all these different people and again, friendships, that I've made. Again, I can't even hardly describe what it's been meant to me to meet all these different people throughout the United States, and help it. But the professional development opportunities as well. And I shouldn't tell this about myself, but since I'm an administrator now, and I can say this, I probably didn't come up with an original idea of programming in that I came up with back in my state without actually seeing some form of it at these national meetings. So I go to these national meetings and I watch all these presentations and I come back with about a dozen ideas. Now I don't get always act on all of them, but usually there's one or two ideas that I come back from those national meetings and helps make my programming even better, which makes me look better to my bosses, and then helps me get further along in my career. And again, I can honestly tell you this, that I can owe probably a good deal of my success and throughout extension, and I feel like I've had quite a bit of success and to get to where I'm at due to belonging to the National Association and going to these national meetings. And so that's a big reason. The other thing is once you go to these meetings, you talk these agents into going to these meetings. Then the next thing is they see the leadership opportunities, again, so you get them hooked and talk them into it. Sometimes it's a little difficult to talk them into that conversation. I will tell them don't talk them into the communications committee the first time out. That's probably not the committee that you want to stick somebody on. But you can convince them to do one of these other committees, the animal science, the ag econ committees, and you get them into this, and they see the good, the what you can get out of it, and it just kind of builds from there. I mean, my story reads, same similar to about anybody else. Is I started out, I was the on the scholarship committee. Then I was on the poster committee, and then I think there was some other committee in between that. Then I was program recognition council chair. Then I was Southern region director, and now I'm set to be president this year. And so again, it's it all builds up with that first appointment and stuff. And so how can state officers, or how can you promote? And it's simple. Try to work with your state associations, figure out ways to help those young agents come to these meetings financially. If you can come up with some kind of scholarship or some kind of application that can help them. But sometimes it just takes, you have to kind of almost drag them to that meeting, and then you let them stay in your room, helps them share those expenses. Maybe if you drive to the meeting, you let them ride with you, but don't just let them go to the meetings and just drop them off and say, here, go forth. Take them under your wing, take them to all these things and let them experience all of this. And then not only the meeting side of things, but the after hours, the hospitalities, the dinners and stuff, help them go out and be part of that. And again, what can you gain from being active? And I use the word active, etc. I tell every one of my agents that I deal with now is I tell them, okay, you can join this association, but if you're not active, or you don't put any effort into it, you're not going to get much out of it. But if you're active, the opportunities are endless, and they're what you make them out to be. And again, I can honestly tell everybody I would not be where I'm at today. And I don't know, some of y'all probably think, well, he's an administrator. Well, I don't want to be that. But I honestly, before I became an administrator, the type of agent that I was, the reputation that I had, the programs that I did, I can all pretty much attribute back to being a member of this association, being an active member, getting to know folks, and it helped. It encouraged me to be better, to do things better, and got me to where I was to actually allow me the opportunity to become an administrator and extension. And now, way I look at it as an administrator now, I get to help 25 county agents, not only in ag but FCS and 4-H. I get to help them be better extension agents and help their programming. And again, I can attribute a good portion of all this. I'm not going to say it's all due to it because, some of it's other things, but I can truly say that it's all due to me being an active member and enjoying the NACA and doing what I've done today. So, with that, Sherry, go fix that. Okay. She wants me to fix it. Okay. There, I fixed it.
Okay, I'm next. I'm going to talk about some of your state officer responsibilities. I don't want y'all to think you're having a drink from a fire hose today. I wanted this to be somewhat inspirational. We've got the national president and the national past president and some directors that have given sage wisdom. I want to talk to you about some of the resources that you as an officer, and maybe even if you're not an officer, you might be sometime, or you're a board member. I want to talk about some deadlines that will make Scott Hallbaker happy, and talk about the fact that we have a system in place to provide you with the support you need. The 5 keys to success as a state officer, and Scott Jensen talked about this: know your responsibilities, use that state officer's handbook, meet the important deadlines. And the important deadlines are your dues, get them paid on time, or you will be assessed a penalty. And also update your officers and your committee members on the website. If you know nothing else but can do those 2 things, that's great. If you know you've got to do those 2 things and you're not sure how to do that, contact your regional director. That's our job. We are the liaison between our states that we represent and the national board. We are the person you come to with your questions. That's our job. We're here to help you. Your best resources, if you kind of want to plunder around and try to go it alone, is the State Officer's Handbook, the NACAA website, the County Agent Magazine, then us, and then you can go to NACAA Leadership. There's not a person that's on our board that would not welcome a question, a phone call from you, and they'll do their best to help you. And that's my main take-home goal for you. We're here to help you. Common pitfalls to avoid: waiting until the deadlines arrive, not updating your officer information, and having poor communication with your members. If you're trying to do everything alone in your state, that's probably a pitfall you need to try to avoid. At least find somebody to help delegate that to. And also forgetting to involve future leaders. I think Andy talked about that. Throw somebody a bone and try to help them to see themselves as a future leader. Um, Final thoughts. Keep your officer information current. Encourage members to participate. Promote awards, posters, and presentations, which is what everybody's talked about. And then for anything else that you need, lean on your regional directors. I think we're at the point where Jennifer, we can talk about any stuff that you've got in the chat. We can do that. I'm going to go ahead and let JJ come back in because he's going to do closing remarks and a challenge to the state officers. But Jennifer, if you can unmute and tell us what we need to know there, that would be great.
I guess as directors were going along here, I did put a few links based on the website that would be helpful as we're talking about, the communications, the awards applications, looking at posters that have been accepted for 2026. I think all those links are just very helpful as you're trying to sort through some of what we talked about here today. There was a comment in here from Jeff about maybe considering it would be helpful in some way to attach state presidents to award committees to be able to follow up with committee chairs within their states. So we can take that comment into consideration with the board here and talk about that.
Can I address that real quick, Jen?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're right, Jen. I mean, it's something. Our old website would allow the state president to see all of the submissions for their state, and our new website, unfortunately, does not allow that. Primarily, just the way it was originally structured. However, Jeff's comment is very valid, and we've had some state presidents have wanted to know and see that information. So the easy way for me to go in and do it does clutter the website a little bit, but ultimately if I assign more than one state chair, so let's say for those awards committee, if let's say Jennifer is the communications chair, I can also then put the president down as the chair. So then they would receive the entry notification emails when there's an entry, plus they'd have access to go in and potentially approve them if the chair is unavailable and can't fulfill that commitment to judge and all that stuff. So we do have a way to do that if that is something you are interested in being added as a second chair so you can see it all. Just identify that on, if Jen hasn't gotten to it yet, but I just put in chat where the spreadsheet is located at for updating committee chairs. So just put more than one person's name down and that problem is solved. But in the meantime, we'll maybe look at, is there another way to just automatically give the state presidents that access to view and approve? Sorry, I was lengthy.
Nope, that was good comments, and I appreciate you giving that follow-up. And yeah, take note of how to update officers and committee chairs there, but for downloading that Excel spreadsheet and getting that back to Scott is going to be the best way to get that updated. I do know that we get, I guess as regional directors, we get updates as well. If we haven't seen those updates, we may reach out to our states too to help get those followed through as well. And Jeff just commented, Scott followed up quickly with the names quickly when I requested it. So yes. So the next question was, when can we see national winners finalist list?
They're available
Like I said, they're available on the website now.
under awards.
Under awards, yeah. If you go to the awards section and click on the awards, it should be able to, I think they are.
The finalists, not the winners. The winners are announced at the meeting.
Yeah. Well, communications are announced, but all the search for excellence and stuff should already be announced and stuff like that. So
What JJ said is correct. Everything except Communication National Winner is on the website, available for everybody to see. Having
that's what I
questions,
was.
holler.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Dan.
The only thing you have to be aware of is that the timeline for when committees are reviewing and judging those, we can't always promise the exact date of when they will be listed. However, we do our very best to make sure, let's just say this year it was an April 1 through May 15th. That was the early bird time period for registration. The ultimate goal was for no committee to go any longer than May 1, so that there would still be 2 weeks left for notification. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen. And when that happens, we do our best to honor a waiver of the late fee. That's only happened a few times. There's always circumstances. We ended up having to extend the early bird deadline this week because the website went down the very last day. And as you guys all know, that's the busiest day for inputting awards and presentations. So out of fairness, the board extended it. So that did kind of push back this year the ability to get everything judged on the original time schedule, but we do our best to have it up by no later than May 1. That obviously will differ. Since next year's meeting is in September, we're probably going to be pushing back. The submission deadline will be the same, but the
We'll
early
be in
bird,
less of a hurry.
the early bird, instead of being an April 1 to May 15th, it's probably going to be a May 1 to June 15th deadline. So it'll give them a little bit more time to review all the submissions.
Yeah. In general, first week of May, we try to have them notified, but like Scott says, things do occasionally happen.
Sounds great. Thanks. And I see Andy put in the link to the award winners. If you want to check it out, you can sort that by state, and that should list everything that's current. And it looks like we have about 3 minutes left, JJ. So I think I'll toss it over to you for conclusion. I don't see any other comments in the chat.
All right. Well, thanks, Jen. Appreciate that. So, closing, remarks and challenge again. Appreciate everybody showing up today for this webinar and stuff. An easy challenge to all you state officers would to, encourage 5 new members, 5 people who have never attended the AMPIC to, are not just encourage, but actually get 5 new members to attend. That's the easy one. I'm as an administrator, I like to choose those hard goals and stuff. So my challenge to you is everybody on here is pick a committee. Let's try to get on a committee this next year, and then as we got coming up, then that deadline will be February the 15th. You'll see the open committees. So pick a committee and let's join on. Let's apply to be on that committee and join those committees, and then to go a little bit further. Encourage more award applications in your state, because again, award winners get a little bit of financial incentive to come. So I encourage you to help your members do that. And it's sometimes, and I've learned this as an administrator too, sometimes it requires a little bit more than just encouragement, verbal encouragement. Sometimes it takes a little verbal arm twisting, Jen, to get that done. So I encourage y'all all to do that and to help us, make this, because this is your association. It's not my association, not Sherry's association. It is your association, and it's only, as good as y'all want it to be. So I encourage y'all to do that. So with that,
Verify Scott's going to send out the recording.
Scott, you're going to send out the recording. That's what Sherry's asking me to do over here.
I can send out a link.
Yeah.
Okay. All
That'd
right.
be great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. So,
Yep.
Just close this out.
all right. If we don't have anything else, guys, again, appreciate everybody showing up, and have a good rest of the day.